Yo, how y'all doing? How y'all feeling?
Welcome to 2%Pro. We keep it real.
No sugarcoat.
I'm Kayla.
I'm Rena.
Let's get it.
So today we will be discussing mental health, a huge problem in our generation amongst college students, college athletes. It's something that definitely needs to be talked about. In our first survey that we did with 2%Pro, we surveyed 100 college athletes, and close to 70%, actually 69.8% to be precise, said that they were dealing with mental health. And it was kind of like a go figure, but it's still like alarming.
No, it is. Yeah.
You know? So we definitely wanted to dive into mental health because a lot of times it's misconstrued and a lot of people don't take it serious and a lot of people don't, really emphasize the importance of mental health, and 2% definitely wants to do that. So just telling you what mental health is, dictionary definition, it includes your emotional, psychological, and social well-being, and it affects how you think, how you feel, and how you act. It also helps determine how you handle stress, how you relate to others, and make healthy choices. Mental health is important at every stage of your life, from childhood and adolescence through adulthood. A lot of the times, the term mental health is confused with mental illness, and a person can experience mental health and not be diagnosed with a mental illness. Likewise, a person can be diagnosed with a mental illness and can experience periods of physical, mental, and social well-being. So, mental health is definitely something that the definition has been altered by people's opinion on what it is. You know? And
I seen something about that. Like, people have, I think I see someone like put it on social media and was like, people have to stop thinking that mental health is a personality trait. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so bipolar, I'm so depressed, and that is so big.
That is true.
Because
bipolar is a mental illness.
Exactly. Like, and that is something that people are really diagnosed with, and it is a huge thing. And for you to think like you can just get on social media and joke and play about that's not okay.
It's not cool. Cause people out here really struggling.
Yeah,
with
and like even
illnesses.
like PTSD. It's like people are like, oh my gosh, I got PTSD from. You didn't get PTSD from nothing.
And
you know what that is?
That's why like a lot of people do not take mental illnesses and mental health seriously.
Because so many people joke about it, and it's not a joke.
I'm gonna kill myself. That's not. Nah, like some people are really out here deciding that they want to stay here on earth where we going. Like, it's not to be joked with, it's not to be played with.
And a lot of times when you are the person when someone is joking about it and you're the person that's like, yo, you can't joke about that, people are like, oh, you need to
get out
stop.
your feelings.
No, stop it. It's not a joke.
Because it's okay to, if it's your way to handle things is to joke about it without using terms like I'm gonna kill myself, like you said, I got PTSD from this, I'm bipolar, yada yada yada. Like, nah, change it. I'm bipolar, I can't make up my mind. Change, you feel me? Like,
cause they're extreme. Like, that is an extreme condition for you to just jump and say like, oh, I'm bipolar. Okay, let's backtrack, because you're not. But there's a different way to joke about something rather than just jump to the extreme.
Current example, everybody I'm pretty sure knows the beef going on between Boosie and Nas. It has been for a while. You might have your opinions on it. Sometimes I side with Boosie, and then, sometimes I side with X. And so the recent thing that he said was yada yada something. Go kill yourself. Boosie was talking to Nas. He was like, go kill yourself. The world will be a better place without you. And it's like, I don't care how mad you get or how much you want to save face talking to somebody. Joking about somebody killing themselves and then to tell them.
I think the most out of this world thing that he did with that was put hashtag commit suicide.
Like,
are you crazy? Like, what?
One, suicide is such a huge issue right now. And two, especially among the gay community.
Yeah.
You know, especially men. Like,
Yeah.
it's so hard for men to be gay. Like, I mean, the numbers are rising.
Yeah.
But it's still, like, really hard. Their mental health goes through a lot.
I think the biggest takeaway from that whole situation is, because I also heard someone talking about it, was that oftentimes people are getting, you know, canceled or getting looked at differently for expressing their opinions. And I feel like everyone should have their opinion. But when it comes in a situation where someone wants to live their lifestyle, like, okay, that's fine, because like we're not going to pretend like Boosie or Lil Nas X, like, what the way you live your lifestyle should not be, you know, like, we shouldn't compare each other's lifestyles.
Right.
Like, it's okay to have an opinion. Like, you may not agree with something, I may not agree with something you do, but like, that's my opinion, and I shouldn't be looked down at because I have an opinion, and you shouldn't be looked down at because you have
Everybody
an opinion.
has an opinion. Everybody has a right to have their opinion. Like,
But
who
it's
are you
about
to
how
tell
you
me?
express those opinions. Like, if
Right.
you're gonna come at someone in a disrespectful manner with those opinions, all right, now we're.
And sometimes, like, even if you don't agree, like, in order to evolve and grow in your life, one thing I found is sometimes it takes trying to understand their perspective or hear somebody out before judging them. So, like, go back to Lil Nas X, right?
Yeah.
I didn't agree with the whole Lil Nas with the pregnant picture.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you were talking, you were like, well, it wasn't about him being pregnant. You were like, it was like his birthing, his album, his work. It was like a piece of art. And so whether I agree with it or not, like, I get it.
Yeah, and
I get it.
Yeah, and like,
I
that's how I
still
feel
might
about it,
not
'cause
agree, but I get it.
Yeah, because I might not agree with it.
Yeah,
like,
but it's from
I
their perspective.
I understood a little bit more because I heard him talk about it. He was
Yeah.
like, I went through life like being in the closet and being so scared and like things of that nature. And I was like, okay, I can understand where you're coming from with that. And I may not still agree with it, but I can understand where you're coming from. Like, that's, you know.
Being open-minded raises your level of emotional intelligence. And when you do that, you will invite a whole different level of peace in your life.
Yeah.
Like, when you let somebody else's opinions or lifestyles, like, bother you so much, like, you need to really, like, grow.
You gotta tap in
your
with
mental.
that taps in with your mental. Yeah, that's a mental thing, because what someone else is doing or the way they're living shouldn't affect you.
Yeah.
Like, that's your choice. Okay, maybe I want to hear about it.
And that all leads to the statistics that you found.
Yeah.
KK found some crazy statistics on mental health as far as college students and athletes, and it just all makes sense. Everything that's being thrown at us on social media as college students, just in life turning into adults, the numbers make sense. Sometimes I feel like they probably are higher, but, you know.
No, I think they are higher, because some we were talking about when we were, you know, gathering our information for this podcast, because like we said before, we try to do as much research as we can before a podcast. But something that we were doing our research was that these statistics, well, the latest statistic I was finding on mental health was like 2016. I couldn't find nothing past that.
Yeah.
And I was like,
we thought that was a little fishy, because we was like, mental health is on a rise, but I feel like, I'm not gonna say the government, but I feel like they take away our podcast.
Take us off YouTube, bro. No, we're fact.
What I'm saying is, I feel like it is purposely put out there. Like, new statistics have not purposely been released because the numbers are probably that alarming.
Yeah, like, the first statistic is anxiety is a top presenting concern among college students, which is at 41.6%. I feel like it's higher.
It has to be, because even if it's not like there's levels in anxiety, you know, like, I got a worksheet due tonight. I might bring some levels of anxiety. Then I got a project due tomorrow. I might bring a bigger level of anxiety. Me in my situation, I got 2 projects due Sunday, 1 due Tuesday, and a game tomorrow. You feel me?
That's
like,
OD.
It's
and also,
different anxieties.
Like, I feel like the sympathy thing, like, a lot of professors are I'm not going to say old, but they're not, you know, they're from previous generations, and their sympathy towards us is not there.
That's why I really advocate and love younger professors because they really like they work
understand.
with you. I definitely like younger.
They understand like a lot of these professors like the whole idea of giving a student an assignment the whole semester. And they're like, oh, I gave you this assignment the whole semester. Why weren't you able to complete it? Do you know the amount of things that can happen to one person in a whole entire semester?
Yeah.
Like, just like the sympathy is not there.
It's not. And sometimes a lot of colleges I know, like, they take advantage of some of the sympathy that the professors do have. Therefore, their sympathy starts to running low. Yeah. It's like, you messing it up for the rest of us.
But also, I hear that, but then it'd be a case of like one time a student lied to them out of like 400 students they had.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then we talk about the next statistic, which is depression. That was at 36.4%. And then the one that followed right after that, neck and neck, was relationship problems at 35.8%.
I think relationship problems feeds into anxiety and depression.
Yeah, it can. It definitely plays a role into it.
Whether it's romantic, whether it's relationship with your parents, your sisters, brothers, friends, teammates, coaches, all those relationships can tie into your depression and anxiety. Yeah. If you let them, which is kind of hard sometimes to take them out of the situations.
Yeah, to kind of like shy away from them, but
because it's proven that you need relationships, like every human.
Yeah, you need
you need encounterments, even if it's the person at the convenience store that you see every week. Like you depend on those unconsciously, you know.
No, I agree, because like even people who are probably struggling making friends in college. Yeah, that is a huge thing that can help cause your anxiety and help cause your depression, and now you're like, well, dang, I had friends in high school, and now I came here, and I don't have many friends, and like it's so many things that play a role into it, for sure.
And then with COVID, I mean, when I got here last year, UNCW during COVID. Yeah. So for me, it was different because I am an athlete, so I have my teammates. Yeah. But when you go to a new school year of COVID, because everything shut down, all this other stuff, you don't get the chance to meet new people. Yeah, that's how it was. I didn't really meet anybody new last year. I mean, my neighbors, but other than that, like...
Yeah, we didn't. We didn't.
To make new relationships, if that was your freshman year last year, I'm sorry. Like...
Yeah, I am too, because it was no going out. It was no, like... It was very, like, ghost town.
And like, I feel like, honestly... Anybody who's starting going to school from COVID and on, I feel like they will never get the college experience ever that most people got. Yeah. It
definitely has affected it, because, like, for me, COVID hit my sophomore year. So it hit at the end of it, like in that May era, because we were at the tournament. Yeah. So then we came back, and then ever since then, COVID has been affecting it. It's like it has just been a nonstop, constant loop of COVID. Like I was back home, we were in quarantine, and then we came back here for the season, and like everything was shut down. And on top of that, you know, we were so precautious because like we're getting tested every week. We're trying to make sure that we can't not play, like you guys can't not play games. Like it's just so much that goes into it. And then now this year, it's like it's a little bit more open, but it's still kind of like. Everything is so... It's just...
That's why I know the numbers are definitely higher. Yeah. For these anxiety and depression.
I was trying to do research on COVID numbers, but there's just not that much out there.
I found some... that said... This is a research done at a university in Ohio. I forget the name of it. But 71% of their students indicated increased stress and anxiety due to COVID. It also said that 91% reported negative impacts of the pandemic. 89% said difficulty in concentrating. 86% disruption to their sleeping patterns. And 86% was concerned about their academic performance. So, I mean, you know, all of that plays into it. Yeah. And those numbers are high at one university, so yeah, I think those are the most realistic numbers that I've seen in any of the research we've done.
Yeah, because even in this statistic that I found that says 64% of students are no longer pursuing their college degree due to mental health issues. Mind you, I think this, which we're going to have all the statistics at the ends. I mean, like all the websites at the end. So if you guys want to go look at them, you totally can. I believe this was from a 2016 like statistic. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that could be higher because of COVID.
Well, I'm not gonna lie to you, I thought that was pretty high.
It is.
64%. So if it's higher now, it still blow my mind because I feel like, yeah, college students do endure a lot of mental health issues. Yeah. But college, if it doesn't teach you anything, I feel like there are some life skills that could be taught in college. I'm not talking about in the classroom. I'm talking about simple stuff like perseverance. Building your social skills purposely.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of these students, I don't know, because I don't want to sit here and say they blamed it on mental health and it wasn't, because I would be part of the problem.
Yeah. I guess it's so difficult to say. Like, it's such a...
Like, I don't get why that many students are like, my mental is so bad, I'm just going to quit school. Are you going to quit school because your mental is that bad? Have you tried to get help before you quit?
Yeah, that's another thing. That's why I'm saying that, like, this statistic is such a gray area because it's just saying 64% left school because of mental health. And there are so many other questions that could be asked.
Did they come back?
Yeah, like, did you try again in a few years? Did you try again? Like,
or was college just not for you? Because it definitely could not have just been for you. And you said, in order to say, I'm in college and it's not for me, so I'm going to quit, you do go through, I'm pretty sure you go through some type of difficulty, anxiety, and depression, realizing that you're participating in something and it's not for you. Mm-hmm. So I guess you could say, I'm doing it because of my mental, but was it something you just decided was not for you? Was not for you at the time? Like, that is a gray area statistic, and I probably really would like to go and see what else is out there on that.
The next one that I found was 73% of college students with mental health conditions have experienced them on campus, and it was a mental health crisis.
Now, what is a mental health crisis? Because I'm pretty sure 100%, or if not 100, 99.7%, I'm pretty sure all of us that had a mental health crisis while in college just due to stress. So, what do they mean by mental health crisis?
You're saying 99.7%?
Of college students have endured some type of mental health crisis. They just had to. I mean, you're away from home. You're doing you're at a different level of intensity homeschoolwork.
This says a mental health crisis is a situation in which a person's thoughts, emotions, and behaviors can put them in jeopardy or harming themselves or others. And you're saying 99.7%. I think that's an extreme alarming. If it was 99.7%.
I mean, in that situation, I guess not. Maybe they had a mental health breakdown. Maybe 99% had a mental health breakdown. I think you're thinking
of like a mental breakdown. Like, if that's the case, probably, we could say like 99.7%. We've all been there.
Okay, well, 73% is still stupid high.
Alarming. That is.
If it's saying unable to provide shelter or clothes for themselves or, act on, what do you say, harm on others or whatever. I mean, 73%, that's high.
That is extremely high.
I mean, damn.
That is like...
That's crazy.
We need something.
If you feel like you are having a mental health crisis, I know counseling is not for everybody, but please go reach out to an older, mature loved one. One thing I don't like with this generation, but I'm pretty sure every generation does it. Mm-hmm. When I'm dealing with something in life, right, mentally, emotionally, and everybody don't have this relationship with their parents and the older people in their family, but I do. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to ask somebody my age or under my age or around my age. I mean, I might tell them this is going on with me. You know, I might hear what they got to say. But for the most part, if I really need some advice, I'm going to somebody older than me and my family because, like, this is serious.
Yeah.
You know? And then you just going to get deeper in your hole if you go to somebody your age and they don't take it as serious.
Yeah.
But then, like I said, I have that relationship with my people. Some people don't have that relationship with their people at home and in their families. And when they go talk to them about it, they don't take it serious either.
Yeah, it's such a. This is why mental health is such a touchy topic because, you know, the when you're going through mental health, it's like, you know, it's easy to be like, well, you know, reach out and get help. But then it's like, well, I reached out, I didn't go well,
Right.
Or who am I gonna reach out to? So it's like, that's that area of like, it's just like that area of like, well, like it's kind of like that gray area of like, you know you need to reach out to somebody, but sometimes people just don't know who to reach out to or like
And
how to
there's
reach
no
out to
right
someone.
suggestion.
That's another
or
thing.
Advice.
Yeah.
The only thing I can literally say to anybody who is dealing with a mental health crisis or poor mental health, like, the only thing I can say that I know is not wrong is there's always a way.
Yeah.
There's
I
always
agree.
a way.
I do.
And if you tell yourself, I'm going to get over this and it's going to get better, and you keep telling yourself that and you work towards it, even if you're used to taking big steps to your goals, if you have to lower them steps smaller, like, and always keeping it back in your head, there's a way, there's going to be better days. That's the only thing that I can tell you that's going to work, because mental health is so wide and broad and
and I
can
feel
happen
like a lot
in
of
every
times,
situation.
I feel like a lot of times because like you're elaborating on like your goals and like making them smaller, and I feel like a lot of times people, I think, are getting out of the habit of praising the small things.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm such a person for that, because you can't praise the big things and not acknowledge the small things that got you there.
Right.
Because it took small steps for that big moment to happen. And it's
Right.
like that's just who I am. Like, it's okay to praise that small moment. Like, maybe you have a bigger goal in life, but you gotta praise that small thing. Like, and it can be something as small as like, well, you wanted to wake up on time tomorrow. Okay, and you did it.
Yeah.
Now you can be happy for the whole day.
Yeah.
Because it's something that small. But to you, that's big. And then don't let someone else belittle your goal.
Yeah, I definitely had to learn that, because like a year or two ago, I wanted to get into scheduling things in my agenda, got planners and stuff like that. And I realized I'm writing out all this stuff, but I'm not getting none of it done. So I was like, all right. First of all, let's give yourself a high five for getting the planner and writing stuff down.
Exactly.
You know? Then I was like, all right, you're still going to write the stuff down, but just tell yourself that you're going to get at least 25% of the stuff on this page down. Now I'm at about getting it a year later. I probably should be getting 100% of it done. I'm at about 60 to 70%. If I have something written down for the day, I'm getting about 60, 70% of it done. So you have to praise what you said, the small steps.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you start realizing how capable you are.
Yeah, because
then
then
you start pushing yourself.
Yeah, you start pushing yourself more, because then like, then you're writing something small down. Then you're like, all right, I've been doing this small stuff for a month now. Now I'm ready for that big big moment. Yeah, and because it plays a role into building habits.
Yeah.
This is what it is. You have to build healthy habits, and it's like you got to start somewhere with goals and things of that nature. And it's like, to be able to do that, everyone starts small.
Yeah. And there's so many things that can help people who are dealing with mental health. I mean, simply if you work out on a consistent basis, I've heard that does a lot for your mental health.
Yeah.
And if that's not for you, try cooking something new. I mean, there's just so many things out there that you can find. You know, it's just
I think
so many
mental health
things
is
out there.
such a thing that kind of is just like a situation of like what works for you. Because what works for you is probably not. It may not
Like
work for that next person.
when we talking about budgeting.
Yeah.
This is what works for you.
Yeah, it's kind of like what works for you, because it may not work for that next person, and that's okay.
Yeah. So that's huge. On here, you skip past it. I don't know if you're going back to it, but this right here, even though it might not sound like a big percentage to me, I thought this was a huge percentage. Research, you said on average 24.5% of the people in this research, so college students, were taking psychotropic medications. And I was like, okay, what medications is this? And there are 5 types of psychotropic medications: antidepressants, anti-anxiety medications, stimulants, antipsychotics, and mood stabilizers. And I was like, yo, a fourth, 1 out of 4 college students are on these medications.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It is a big wow.
Like, you know what all of y'all need that do this? I can't even say it. Can't even say it.
I hate that I just read your mind right there. Like,
I'm pretty sure all my homies watching this just read my mind too.
Next statistic. Because last episode she's talking about donating sperm. This episode, okay.
Yeah, like that's crazy. And I mean, if you feel you need it, as the doctor prescribed you and it's working for you, by all means, continue it. However, as soon as you can, I would definitely try to work my way off of those, because that stuff ain't nothing to be played with.
Yeah.
It's not at all. Also, another COVID statistic dealing with mental health is that 67% of college students, this is before COVID. Before COVID. So you know that the statistic is probably risen. 67% of college students who felt suicidal reported telling a friend. One, I don't know. I don't really want to get too deep into suicidal thoughts and stuff because everybody's different.
Yeah.
And like she said, it's a touchy subject. But I mean,
I think it just kind of plays a role in what you said earlier, which is just like sometimes we kind of go to our peers too much, and our peers are not always the most reliable for some advice, and that's okay, because we just have to accept the fact that we're growing and learning, and on most of these topics we don't know most stuff about, and it's like when our friends come to us about situations, we may not know how to handle that, and that's okay. And I think sometimes our peers are not mature enough to say, hey, I really don't know how to handle this situation.
I've really been working on, whenever a peer comes to me talking about something they dealt with.
Yeah.
If I cannot relate to you, if I've never been through it, I'm not going to sit here and say I understand. I understand. Like, I genuinely have to understand to say that. If you ever hear me say that, I literally have went through a scenario of what you're going through.
And I'm the same way, because one, I'm not going to give you false advice. I'm not going to pretend like I do not understand what you're going through, and I'm sorry for what you're going through. But however, I don't understand because I've never been in this situation. Right. But I'll be there for you. I'll listen to you, and I'll try to feel for you. But I cannot pretend like I understand, because that does neither of us any good. Yeah.
And the only time I give advice to somebody that I do not understand what they're going through is if my religion then comes into play. If I notice that they practice Christianity as well, then I would start, I feel like sometimes God gives me the words to say to people who are dealing with stuff. But other than that, I really try to stay away from giving too much advice if I have not personally been through it. Yeah. If your friend is coming to you and you are doing them no good, giving them advice on something you have no business giving them advice about.
Yeah, you're doing each other no good.
It's like all these single people out here giving people in relationships advice. I'm not taking advice from you.
Yeah.
Like, what? Like,
But even on the, like, I guess not even if you're single. It's just more like if you have been in a relationship, or if you're in a relationship, if that person is coming to you and telling you something, if you have never been through that situation when you were in a relationship or you're in a relationship, why even try to give advice? Just be like, hey, I've never been through that, but man, that's a crazy situation. Like,
and realize that everybody is their own individual, and that their partner isn't your partner. So,
yes.
you know, I don't condone cheating, and I don't condone it in my relationships. However, you feel me? If your partner cheat on you, you came back, and you let them come back, right?
Yeah.
And they continue cheating. Don't mean the next partner gonna do the same thing.
The same thing, yeah.
You know, they might have cheated and felt really bad about it. Now they want to make it up and give you the world, yada yada yada, because they felt they messed up. But you done told them, he gonna do it again and again and again. You know, to mess up somebody's perfectly fine relationship is just a mistake happened. So
yeah,
that is definitely something our generation definitely needs to work on. If you have not been through something, just listen.
Just listen and be like, look, I haven't been through it, but I'm here for you.
And listen effectively. There's a difference between hearing
yes, oh my God,
and listening. I mean,
yes.
I'm not gonna say who, but I'm dealing with somebody. This is not, I guess it's personal. I don't know. I'm dealing with the situation, a relationship that I have, not romantic, not friend-wise, but with somebody I have to deal with very often. And they just hear you. But they don't listen. So I say one thing, and their response is like, okay, did you hear anything I just said?
They didn't though.
And they're not even in our generation.
I hate that you just said this because I know, you know what?
His point is, even if you don't know what to say, if you're genuinely somebody's friend, you would learn how to effectively listen.
I promise listening will go longer than giving faulty advice.
Without jumping to assumption either.
Yes.
Listen with a clear mind, with no biases, and try to put yourself in their shoes.
Oh my. Yes, just put yourself in their shoes, because like that was me. Like, I just had a situation where like both my roommates, and my roommate has OCD. So like her cleaning skills are like extremely out of this world. Like, she is going to wipe the house down probably every single day of the week. And she was having an issue with our other roommate where they share a bathroom, and like she was like, am I like tripping about this or this? And I put myself in both their shoes. I'm like, well, I don't know how you feel about this, but I don't see an issue with this,
right,
or this or that. Like, just put yourself in that person's shoes, and just try to understand where they're coming from, and just listen. It'll go a long way rather than giving some really, really bad advice.
And I think that's how a lot of relationships last, is when people are willing to listen.
Yeah.
To not think, I'm way beyond this, I'm way past this. Just listen to somebody, you know? Like, so I definitely think that mental health plays into the way you react to it, who you go to about it, and what do you want to do about it? What do you want from it? And do you even recognize it?
Yeah. That's like, a big one. Do you recognize it?
Do you recognize your mental health issues? Do you realize that you were in a funk? Do you realize that you've been in a funk for a year? You realize this stuff, like, you know?
I agree, 100%.
And I think, you know, like I said, there's a difference between mental health and mental illnesses. Wow. Okay, yeah. There's a difference between mental health and mental illnesses. A percentage KK found in 2016, based off a study done, that 39% of college students were struggling with at least one mental illness. That sounds about, it's not really alarming, because it's not something, a mental illness is not something that can change. I believe it's kind of something that you deal with all your life, from my understandings.
Yeah, I think that's how I understand it too, but I'm not.
Mental illness is an illness that affects the way people think, feel, behave, or interact with others. There are many different mental illnesses, and they have different symptoms that impact people's lives in different ways. mental health, talk about your well-being, your emotional thoughts and feelings, and your ability to solve problems and overcome difficulties. That word, overcome difficulties, you feel me? Or like coming into our new understandings of the world around us. So I think that plays a huge role in understanding the difference. That mental illness is a thing like you said earlier, PTSD, bipolar, schizophrenia. Like,
Yeah.
I know people who, honestly, with all of those, not one person with all of those, but
Yeah, I know what you
you
mean.
mean, yeah. And sometimes they're productive, good, happy, and next moment they're dealing with their mental illness.
Yeah.
You know, and I guess mental health in a way works the same way. One moment you're happy, and next moment, but really understanding the difference, and not saying you have a mental illness when you're just dealing with some poor mental health that you can change.
No, I agree. I really do. And we're going to talk about some resources for it, which is 30% of students are turning to counseling. 48% are turning to support system, to a support system of friends, and 39% are turning to a support system of family. This statistic presents the percentage of college students in the U.S. who had ever utilized select mental health service providers as of fall 2018. According to the data, 41.2% of students had utilized a counselor or therapist or psychiatrist for mental health issues. Which those statistics were actually, I'm not gonna say like those statistics were pretty good. Like to see that 48% are turning to a support system or friends, like that means that they're
solid.
Yeah, like they're trying to, like they're recognizing their mental health and trying to do something about it, trying to turn it over into a good way. Yeah, I
that is good. However, like we said before, whenever you feel like you are dealing with whether it's mental health or mental illness, sometimes you need to go see somebody to differ. Even if you don't want to talk to nobody, maybe it might be good to at least get some professional advice on differentiating. Am I dealing with a mental illness that I never noticed in my life?
Yeah, or are you dealing with mental
Or am I
health?
just dealing with mental health?
Yeah.
And it should be, I'm not saying a relief, but if you do go and just get it, checked out, evaluated, when you realize it's mental health, in a way you kind of should be relieved because this is fixable. This is something I can work on to better. Mental illness, I'm not saying you should be even worse off in your mental health if you find out, but then you should realize, okay, that I'm not going to deal with this all the time. It might just pop up. And then if you're dealing with mental illness, I definitely suggest that you go talk to somebody regular.
Yeah.
And whenever those mental illnesses do decide to affect you in your life, how are you going to better handle? You get what I mean? Like,
yeah, I get what you mean.
Or the people around you. If you have mental illness, let's say you're bipolar, you're PTSD, and you react to it a certain type of way, telling the people around you, the trusted people around you, hey, if I start doing this, acting this type of way, like, I need this from you, or I need space, Telling people that type of stuff, really, like, it answers and solves and prevents so many issues. I mean, a lot of people know that when I'm not answering the phone, but I don't answer the phone anyways. If they know if I'm going ghost for 2 weeks or a week, like, they don't get in their feelings. They don't be like, you don't talk to me no more, yada, yada, yada. They know that I'm going through something. So when you set those boundaries respectfully, people will respect you or even be there for you however you need it.
Yeah.
You just have to make it known. I feel like a lot of people dealing with mental illness find themselves dealing with a lot of mental health issues too because they don't know how to communicate it. Because people are so judgmental, and I think I got that too. I didn't say that for you to say. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I get what you're saying.
We really got to be better, but the numbers are good. People are looking for a support system. That's the good part.
Yeah, definitely.
And I also put on here 5 ways to boost your mental health. And there are going to be more ways that we put out there via social media.
Yeah.
But these are 5 that I thought pretty much in a lot of situations, maybe somebody can at least take one of them. One is what KK said earlier, track gratitude and achievements in a journal. Big or small, you track them. If you track 2 achievements every day, 3 achievements, and you go back after a week or 2 and look back at your achievements, you're like, hey, I think I'm doing something. It might not be look big.
You're keeping track of positive things.
Yeah, but I'm doing something.
Yeah.
Like I'm working towards something.
Yeah, definitely.
So tracking gratitude and achievement in your journals could help you better your mental health. If you have something bothering you, let it all out on paper. So keeping a journal, a diary, whatever you want to call it. Or I know some people who are dealing with some dark stuff. Dark stuff. I wouldn't consider myself to have dealt with some dark stuff compared to some people.
Yeah.
But they are. They have paranoias, don't want people to see what possibly they written down. Some people write stuff on paper, I know, and then crumble it up, throw it out in a lake. Polluting, sorry. Don't do that. They'll burn the paper. They'll ruin it with water. But just writing it down, it scientifically proves to relieve some of your stress.
You're getting it out.
You're getting it out.
Yeah. No,
You don't have somebody trusted to talk to about a situation. Seeing it on paper, analyzing it, and thinking about the best solution or the best outcome, could help you.
Yeah.
Another advice is, Maya Angelou said, there is no greater agony than bearing an untold. Let me take that back. Maya Angelou said, there is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside of you. So, for some people dealing with stuff, I personally like to hold my stuff in. Some people got to let it out.
Mm-hmm.
Some people need to put it on social media. Some people need to talk to their friends about it.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently there's this thing on Twitter. If you have Twitter and you are one of those people who sharing your experience with other people, you can do this on Twitter and then put a hashtag mental illness feels like, or poor mental health feels like. Those hashtags will enter you into a world of other people dealing with issues. And you can go read, you can share, and even when you need to be inspired, you can look up these 2 hashtags, and you can see other things that people are going through. You might see that somebody's going through something worse than you.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, what I'm going through is not that bad. Or you can see somebody going through something not as worse than you. Like, okay, maybe, I don't know, some people, I would be like happy for that person. But some people have different reactions to that stuff,
Yeah.
Not last one. 4th one is go off the grid. I'm very notorious for going off the grid. If that's what you like to do, then do that. Going off the grid can definitely up and better your mental health if that is for you.
Yeah, I think just practice that in a healthy way.
In a very healthy way.
Don't just go off the grid and then come back the same way.
Yeah.
Like, try to go off the grid and practice some healthier things, like.
And come back better.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
Lastly, out of the 5 that I thought stood out, practice forgiveness. People holding in anger and frustrations inside of them, that plays into so much mental health. Once you get to a certain age, you gotta realize that no matter how long you stay mad or how bad you treat somebody because of something they did to you, you can never change a person.
Yeah, no, you can't.
So practicing forgiveness and being the bigger person, it relieves so much inside of you, and it gives you a certain type of peace that you might have been longing for for as long as you can think about.
Mm-hmm.
So practicing forgiveness, so tracking gratitude and achievements, writing in your journal, getting off the grid, sharing your story, and practice forgiveness. Those are the 5 I want, you guys to really hear out.
Then the next thing is college students versus athletes facing mental health, which we'll talk about more, and as we get more and more into mental health. But some of the things we're going to discuss right now is why do college athletes' mental health issues differ from the average college student. And I think the most obvious one is just the amount of things that are put on their plate.
The workload compared to the normal college student.
Yeah, and that's definitely the most obvious one. Which right here we talk about sleep schedules can be altered due to workloads or meetings and events. Add a practice schedule, travel, and games, and life can be much more difficult, which is 100% true.
Yeah, man. Sometimes you're so tired, you want to go to sleep, but you I got to do homework.
Yeah.
That's just one scenario. There's a million.
There's so many ways that could be changed.
Your sleep schedule. Excuse me. Your sleep schedule can very much be altered, and it's so important to have a good sleep schedule as an athlete too, because it can affect the way you perform.
Yeah, it can. Which then the way you perform can then affect your mental health, because then if you're not performing well, then your coach is just like, well, you're not performing well, then they're looking at the next options.
Yeah. Speaking of sleep schedule, there's more on the list, but for those athletes who are listening, before a big performance, it's not about the night before sleep. It's 2 nights before. 2 nights before. The night before you sleep is important, but the night before that is even more important. I'm not going to go into that, but that's just a tip to throw in there.
Appreciate that. And then the next thing is some do not know what it is like waking up to go to an 8:30 a.m. class on a Monday after getting back from a 10-hour road trip that morning at 3 a.m. Yeah, I think that's I
remember one time you were telling me that y'all had did that. And I personally, I didn't deal with that last year because I didn't play the whole season. So the games I did, and it was COVID season, so I didn't really have any classes to get to.
Yeah, I didn't have no in-person classes last year.
Yeah, and then my last school, UNC Charlotte, they did very well on planning game trips. And even when conference started, most of the games were, I think, Thursday and Saturday, so we got back on a Sunday. So
the boys had that schedule, so we had Sunday. We played Sundays.
See, that would frustrate me, and it probably will frustrate me this year because I think we do.
Yeah, I think I do. I think the boys have that schedule again, then y'all play Sunday games, which is frustrating because it was one of those situations where I had a Monday class at 8 a.m. and we got back at 2, and then I was like, dude.
And now that I'm looking at my schedule, I'm actually very grateful that the only Monday class I have is at 3 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And usually I like early classes. I hate afternoon classes.
Me too.
I hate them. But that was my only option, and I was like, whatever. But now that I'm thinking about it, that might work out for the good.
Yeah.
It might work out.
So then the next thing, student athletes also have to be more aware of the internet and social media so they do not set a bad example for themselves and the university. Every post could be used against them, so athletes have to be more careful of what they post. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. They have to set an example, when you walk around. It's
huge.
Yeah, it is huge. They have to set an example. Not even just with that, athletes can face a lot of backlash on social media, and so many people on social media, why is it such a thing? I think I've become disgusted with the way that seriously, because I was watching NBA last night. There's 10 games on, and I was listening to Stephen A and them talk. I think I've become disgusted with the way they talk about athletes. It is so degrading.
It made me disgusted when the Kyrie situation.
Yeah, that made me disgusted, but
from that point
they
on,
talk about it Well, like they talk in between the game, then they talk before the game, and they're talking right before the Hawks game. And they're talking about like what I think is like what James Harden has to do, and they're like, well, he can't be hurt. He just needs to do this. He needs to. I'm like, who are you to tell a player what they need to do? And it just made me feel so disgusted. And I'm like, I don't know if it's because I've been working inside of a program and I see the countless things that go on, such as like what players have to put in and like those amount of things. I'm like, to just see you sit here and say these things, like, oh, that sounds so easy for that player to do, but that's not how it works.
I think broadcasters, social media, the image that athletes have, they forget that athletes are people.
That was the biggest thing when I was sitting there watching us. I was like, y'all forget that this person is a human. Like, they have to listen to you talk and then listen to the 50,000 other people who hating on them on Instagram. And
just
then they
because of what team they got traded to, like, it's their choice. Which they have no control. Like, and I was like, I think I've become disgusted with it. And I was like, this is so like, it's so degrading. It's so bad. Like, yeah. To the pro athletes, kudos to y'all. 'Cause y'all deal with some.
Mind you, the statistics of pro athletes in dealing with mental health issues is high.
I'm sure of it, and they can't even really like broadcast it because of the hate and judgment they'll get.
They'll get for it, yeah.
Like, it's especially with men, like, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
Like, it's just disgusting.
It is. I agree.
You feel me? It really is disgusting. All for some money, all for the next story. Like, and some of these broadcasters on pro athletes, they were athletes at one point. That's what blows me about it. Like,
you were an athlete.
Now
you
doing this for another check. Like, nah, man. It shows me where your intentions are, for real, for real.
I think Stephanie and them are probably the worst, but when Shaq and them talk, Shaq and them are cool. I like when they talk.
I was about to say, him, like Charles Barkley,
they're so funny. I like when Shaq. Funny. Yeah, they're cool, but and I think it's more because they were in those positions and like they know what it's like. But when Stephanie and them talk, I'm like, man, y'all.
He sound like I forget the name they called him, but he definitely doing that for a check. Like, he's completely brainwashed, whitewashed. Sorry, he is. I don't care. It's disgusting.
It is.
Not lastly, but NCAA reports that college students, including student athletes, are not immune to struggles with mental well-being. About 30% of the 195,000 respondents to the recent American College Health Association survey reported felt depressed in the last 12 months, and 50% reported haven't felt overwhelming anxiety during the same period. And going back to what we said earlier, we found it strange that this was done in 2015 by the NCAA. This is the last statistic
that we could find.
NCAA has reported. I think that's purposely done because the number is right at kind of high, but it's not at like something needs to change high. And I feel like
50% is something needs to change high.
Yeah, but like not like
of only
gonna be on national news.
Of only 190, there's 400. Well, we don't know how many student athletes there were at this time. So if we were to go back and see how many student athletes there were at this time, 195,000, 50% of them said yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, all of it's alarming.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying, like, if they were to do the statistics now, I'm pretty sure they only asked felt depressed, not dealing with depression, felt depressed, and feel overwhelming anxiety. That number will be close to 100 if you ask student athletes that now or last year during COVID. And if that number came out by the NCAA, it will be a bigger problem than what it is now.
They would have to enforce
something. They would have to change. So therefore, and every other research we did, they reported back to NCAA's research that was done 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
It's like almost irrelevant now. We couldn't find any other research done really on.
Literally couldn't.
Everybody used the NCAA's research. And I know it can't be true because we got higher percentages
on
in
just
our
100
survey.
athletes of 70%. And mind you, we weren't doing whole team situations. We had athletes in different
Random.
states, it was random.
Like random. Different sports.
And 70% of 100 is
different races, different genders. Like,
that's crazy. And mind you, they went in depth, not in depth, but they just said felt depressed and overwhelming anxiety. All we said was, have you ever dealt with any mental health issues? 70% said yes.
Yeah. So we definitely think there is a reason behind that, but we can't get too much into that now.
They gonna shut our podcast down, y'all. We just getting started.
If you feel like you have dealt with any of these issues, I mean, you don't have to talk to us about it. However, we will continue to send out surveys because we want to discuss and talk about the most recent data out there.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing.
If that means we need to do our own research, then that's what we'll do.
Yeah.
And if you feel like there needs to be a change in the way college athletes are being dealt with and their mental health, then that means if you complete our survey, you are helping us give us one more statistic.
Yeah, you're being a part of that change, 100%.
And if we can there's 460,000 athletes, you know? I'm not saying we could ever get all 100% of them because the NCAA couldn't even do that, you know? Like,
but
if we can get
you know, they be
a good percentage of them, like, this is something that, like, you could be a part of the change. There has to be a change. I'm not saying it's going to happen this year. I'm not saying it's going to happen next year. But you filling out these surveys, you're being part of the change because we're putting this on blast. This is not cool. Like,
yeah, I agree.
Athletes on the pro level, the college level, it all starts on the college level. Some people dream of being pro athletes and realize the pressures when they become a college athlete and like, I don't even want to do this no more.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you're treated like, I'm sorry, this is a little rugged, but like, I think Odell said it one time on LeBron's podcast, a caged animal.
Oh, he did say that. We was watching that. He said you're treated like a caged animal. And his example was that someone saw him and was like, dance. He's a human being. Yes, he is known for dancing, but imagine seeing
Alex the lion on Madagascar.
Like, dance. Like, oh my gosh, I was just so baffled when I heard him say that. Like,
your image on social media. I mean, you should keep that up anyways, but it's like you're kind of forced to now.
Yeah.
And then
you're forced to have some type of brand. You're forced to be someone, and then when you're known for that person,
everything to the school. This NIL, I mean, is a benefit to some of the big athletes, but to ones who just getting small endorsements and partnerships, the paperwork and stuff they gotta fill out. Like, you are a product of your university.
Yeah.
When you go pro, you're a product of them. I mean, that's cool and all, but sometimes they forget that everybody's an individual with individual personalities, and those are all important.
Yeah.
So to make somebody silence their own individuality is the world we live in. Everybody is getting to a point.
I think that's the biggest thing is trying to not forget who you are along the way of playing the sport, of still loving your sport, but along the way not forgetting who you are.
Yeah. And I've had to deal with that personally.
Yeah.
Recently. I realized that, you know, being myself wasn't the best, you know, fit with my program. However, I came to a realization that there's always a way. God ain't made me who I am for me to change it for anybody.
Yeah.
So I did some self-reflecting. I figured out, you know, one, I'm not going to be no puppet.
Yeah.
I'm going to be myself. I'm going to remain respectful. I'm going to do what I told, but that don't mean it got to be a little pushback. You don't always got to sit down. You got to realize your worth. And when you realize your worth, it will be known everywhere.
Yes, I agree. 100%.
Yeah. So this was just the beginning of our mental health segment.
Mm-hmm.
We tried not to get too deep into things because we have about 2 or 3 more segments on this, and those we will be diving deep into a lot of things we talked about today. But this is huge. Mental health is an issue that needs to be talked about. The awareness needs to be clarified.
Yeah.
And I hope you heard something that you thought was dope, that you thought was worth listening to, because it is important.
Very important.
Yeah, so tune in next Sunday for more mental health. And yeah, just tune in next Sunday for some more mental health. And let us know if y'all have any questions or anything y'all would like us to discuss. Welcome to all feedback.
Yeah.
So thank you for listening to 2%. We'll be back next Sunday. Hope y'all learned something. We out.